Ladies and gentlemen, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is about to arrest a number of Texas Democrats. New York Times, Cornine says FBI will help find Texas lawmakers who left state. Texas Tribune, Cornine says Federal Bureau of Investigation will help locate absent Democrats. Then Abbott says FBI is tracking down Texas Democrats. So not only is the rhetoric heating up, but Democrats very likely broke the law. It's interesting, too, because, and hit subscribe to this channel right now, one of the reasons, potentially, according to Elon Musk and others, that Democrats wanted undocumented immigrants into the country is to flood districts full of people that were not citizens, thus giving Democrats more seats in Congress, because the census does not ask if a person is a citizen. The census just looks at the overall population of a district. So Democrats wanted as many people within their districts as possible, citizens or non-citizens. It's interesting that Democrats now are going after Abbott and Republicans, saying, "Oh my God, gerrymandering! You're trying to cheat." When that's essentially what they've been doing for a long time. They cheated Biden. So aside from the census, where they allowed undocumented immigrants into the country at record pace to increase the population of districts or to create districts. The one reason they don't want, by the way, incidentally, the citizenship question in the census is, by one estimate, 25 to 30 seats would be taken away from Democrats if they just counted citizens. But the issue here is that Democrats don't even have functioning primaries. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016, we know that, and they cheated Biden in 2024. Biden won his primary. They cheat all the time. But anyway, check this out.
More than 50 Texas Democrats fleeing the Lone Star State for Chicago, all to protest Republican efforts to redistrict the state ahead of the midterms. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing late last night that the Dems who fled could be removed, writing, quote, Democrats hatched a deliberate plan not to show up for work for the specific purpose of abdicating their duties and of their office and thwarting the chamber's business. That amounts to an abandonment or forfeiture of an elected state office. RNC National Committee woman Jane Timken joins me now. Jane, could they actually be kicked out, deemed to have forfeited their seats?
I mean, it's quite possible. This never ends well for the Democrats. This is another shenanigan they're trying to pull. And to hightail it out to Chicago, I know it's hot in Texas, but they got to get back to work.
For all the bloviating from these Texas Democrats, don't California, New York, all blue states do the exact same thing to benefit Dems when they have control of the state house?
Absolutely. They do this all the time. And we see it, as you said, in New York and California. This is Eric Holder's plan, Obama's former attorney general. They have been determined to redistrict themselves into power for quite some time. And Republicans should stand strong and not put up with this nonsense. Democrats need to do their job, unless they don't want to do it anymore, and then they can lose their job.
An interesting part of all this, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, very, very vocal recently.
Now let's listen to Governor Abbott.
With breaking news, the very latest from Austin is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, when I looked, I have a whole sheet here of every single Democratic state, and it's just like the examples I put up there. They have gerrymandered their states left, right, sideways. They're saying, well, they're gonna do to their states what you're doing in Texas. They already did it in all of these blue states. Frankly, Republicans should have caught up a long time ago.
Well, Sean, first of all, Texas is doing what we are allowed to by the law. And one reason why that law exists the way that it does is because the Democrats brought a lawsuit after our last redistricting, and that decision in that lawsuit came out last year. And that lawsuit recognized that coalition districts are not required. And so Texas has a right to redraw these lines to fully represent the desires of every voter in the state. But Sean, that misses the point here. The point here is that Democrats have done something that's very un-Texan. They've turned their backs on their fellow Texans. When it came to a fight, they turned and ran away, not just from this redistricting fight, they ran away from dealing with the flooding issues that are still echoing across the Kerrville area. Families desperately need results from the state legislature in this 30-day special session that are not going to be delivered because Democrats are hanging out in Chicago and New York and other places.
How on earth, forget Democrat, Republican, if you're in Texas, if you live in Texas, how on earth could anyone vote for a Democrat in Texas or the Democrats that fled to Chicago or to other blue states? Your elected official is supposed to, whatever happens, stay within your state or within the district and continue to fight and work for the electorate or for his or her constituents. This is so outlandish. It's such nonsense. And it's the same Democratic Party that obsessed over President Trump, that lied routinely every single day about Trump being an operative of the Kremlin and that the Russians interfered in 2016. And they use these words that are so broad and vague, and they spread misinformation. Information that misinforms. Trump was never an operative of the Kremlin. Facebook ads and Twitter bots didn't ruin Clinton's chances in 2016. The Comey letter, actually, which was a botched attempt at a cover-up, or maybe deliberate, the Comey letter with James Comey finding classified data being forwarded to Anthony Weiner days before the 2016 election. And he writes that letter after having covered up the fact that Clinton had top secret and special access program intelligence almost certainly illegally transferred onto servers where we don't know how that was even possible. And so then they were finding out from the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, well, we knew most of this, that there's declassified documents now pointing to Clinton creating and the DNC creating this absurd Red Scare McCarthy-era hoax. And Democrats obsessed over Trump and Russia. And then they said he committed a rebellion. He tried to foment a rebellion. And of course, in a complete unanimous decision by the Supreme Court, overturned the Colorado ban. Because the Democrats in Colorado wanted to ban Trump on every ballot. And so they've been doing these things. They have not focused on the middle class, the working class, fixing a solution to poverty, addressing the issues that affect all Americans. That's what, you might not like Trump's tariffs, but he's doing something to address economic inequality. Unions love tariffs, and Democrats are supposed to love unions, but we know how that goes. Anyway, let's continue. How do you leave the state of Texas? If you're a Texas Democrat, how can you then run for re-election after having left because of a petty partisan redistricting argument or battle?
Yeah. All right. Let me run through the states. California, Republicans, 39% of the House vote, but they only have 17% of the seats. Connecticut, Republicans, 40% of the House vote, 0 seats, none, zip. Illinois, 2024, Republicans, they got a pretty respectable 47% of the statewide vote, 18% of House seats. Maryland, one of the bluest states, Trump gets 35%, but they only have 12% of House seats. Massachusetts, again, 0 House seats. Nevada is even worse. Republicans win the state. They won the state House by 10 points, walked away with 1 single House seat in the entire state. That's it. So this has been the practice of these states for the longest period of time. Now they want to attack you. And I'm thinking, okay, what you're doing is exactly what they did.
Well, and not even that, Sean. To be honest, the Texas maps are not going to be as extreme as those other blue states that you talked about. But another thing, and that is what Texas is doing under these new maps. 4 of the 5 new seats will be a majority Hispanic seats. One of the seats is going to restore the Barbara Jordan seat over in the Houston area. And so these are seats where Democrats are having to come to grips with the reality. And that is, they are now losing the votes of Hispanics and black voters in the state of Texas. And these districts are going to show that Hispanics and blacks, as well as others, are voting for Republican, and Republican is their candidate of choice. And we will ensure that will be achieved at the congressional level in the state of Texas.
Democrats are losing black and Latino voters They're losing the demographic groups that they count on to survive. Democrats don't know what to do. They don't stand for anything. Trump, tariffs that benefit American manufacturing. You could disagree whether or not it benefits manufacturing. He's imposing tariffs to ensure that there's a functioning middle class where AI doesn't take over everything and people can't find work without, only in specific industries and not with manufacturing, for example. And so he's protecting American manufacturing with tariffs. You can disagree, but that's what he's doing. He stands for something. He is against never-ending military conflicts, sending Americans to never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Never Trump Republicans and Democrats don't care about that at all, okay? And he wants to enforce immigration laws. Those three things Trump stands for. What do Democrats stand for? Performance art. Nothing else. They cheat all the time. They lie all the time. And there are good Democrats, liberals, progressives. I'm not talking about the individuals. I'm talking about the political party. Is full of lies and deceit. They created a new Cold War, and they, with a hoax, and then they accused Trump of trying to rebel against the country. They tried to imprison Trump. He won twice in a landslide this time, and they still don't know what to do. They don't stand for anything but these kind of ridiculous, absurd, stupid stunts. Hit subscribe to this channel. They now risk arrest by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hit subscribe. Thank you.